Have you ever considered the impact that time management can have on your success and happiness? Hey there, action takers. I'm your buddy, David B., and along with our handy-dandy co-host, Teresa Merrick, we welcome you back to another episode of the IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast, where we're all about helping you create income from your interests by mastering the skills needed to thrive, even when you're not quite sure what you're doing. In today's episode, we're going to cover the exact steps to efficiently manage your time with a special focus on Teresa's evening reflection guide. We've been working on this topic for about 3 decades between us, and trust me, the experience we've gathered will help you tremendously in your journey. In a 2016 interview with Forbes, Tony Robbins said, "I know that if I'm happy at work, that makes me better at home. And if I'm happy at home, that makes me a better worker." He goes on to say that life is a circle and not a scale. There is no such thing as work-life balance. There is only work-life integration. And we're going to explore exactly what this means for you and your daily routine. After that, Teresa and I will share some personal time-saving techniques that have worked wonders for us, and we think they'll work for you too. One of those things, which we'll cover very much in depth, is Teresa's evening reflection drill, which you should grab for free right now on our website if you don't have it already, which is IDKWTFpodcast.com, because we're going to cover the absolute best but quick thing to do each night before bed in order to have the best day tomorrow. Remember, action takers, we're in this together. So if you've struggled with time management or finding the right balance between work and personal life, you won't want to miss a single second of this episode. And if this is the sort of thing that puts a sparkle in your eye, be sure to hit that subscribe button right now for more. Then find a comfy spot to listen or pop in your headphones while we're doing some force together, and let's dive in. Have you ever started something new and didn't finish it?
You were excited. You invested time and money.
You got stuck.
I'm Teresa Merrick.
And I'm David B.
And this is the podcast with 2 ADHD entrepreneurs, and we've been there.
And worked with hundreds of people in the exact same place.
The IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast will take you away from feelings of frustration and overwhelm.
And lead you to the clarity you need to take action and get shit done.
Listen today, because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing.
And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast. I am David B.
And I'm Teresa Merrick.
Welcome back. All right. So we have been kind of going through our little series on I don't know what I'm doing, and it's okay. And for those of you, if you haven't already, we do have a book you can download right on our website for totally free with that same title, I Don't Know What I'm Doing, and It's Okay. The 4 steps taking you from overwhelm back into action. And that's kind of like the process of what we've been going through, right?
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about and diving into a little more. When you go through the ebook, it is super valuable. I love having something in front of me to read, to see. We have some links, some QR codes. So there's some fun content in the book. But then David and I are going the extra mile and really going over it. So it's so far, we started off talking about why it's important to admit that I don't know what the F I'm doing, mentally prepare for the mistakes, the failures, the things that are going to happen, because inevitably there will be setbacks. Then it's also about, all right, we're going to have those, but I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to commit to following through. And frankly, I mean, David and I are going through this to some extent for ourselves in our own businesses, in our own lives. So it's super great because then we're like, oh, it's getting all back in there and reminding us of all the things that are important to know when you're creating a business, when you're doing a workout routine, any of those things. Speaking of creating workout routine, our last episode was about how to create and maintain routine and habits and build those. And then today, we're going to talk about time management. Super exciting.
Yeah,
you're excited.
Perfect.
You are.
Very excited. And all of these episodes really are building on each other. So starting back at episode 67, which again, it's titled, you can just kind of look at it. It's really going through that progression of the entire core of our podcast, right? Just really how to keep going when you're so close. So whether it's like you're trying to turn your hobby into a business, whether you are trying to add like a new routine into your life that just you're at that point where it feels overwhelming, right? There are just a certain amount of steps we can all take every day and just keep going. But it's something that's almost never talked about. And it feels so isolating and lonely, especially when you've started something and you either don't have people supporting you to get it through, or you reach that difficult, uncomfortable spot and you just want to quit or go do something else that's not as uncomfortable.
Right. Well, and a lot of times the people in our lives, the people we love, the people who support us are not going through the same thing we're going through because they're not starting their own business or they're not jumping back into working out or whatever it is, project goal that you have. They're not doing that. So it's lonely. And sometimes you just need that understanding that someone who's right there with you. And we're going through this. David and I have lots of goals. We have lots of aspirations. We're growing our podcast. We're growing our businesses. We're doing all this alongside you. And so really this format is for you. We are right there in it and are going to continue to share what works best for us. And we want to hear what works best for you. If there's something we miss or something you want to hear about, please let us know. And we don't know everything.
Exactly.
So we're going to share everything that we can with you.
Yeah.
Because we do know a lot. We're kind of smart.
Sometimes.
About something.
Yeah. And so now we're like really getting into the meat of all of these things, right? Because a couple episodes, again, we talked about just dedicating ourselves and making a commitment and deciding to stick with what we're doing. Our last episode was just like you said, Teresa, really how to create a routine. And so once we've made the commitment, how to stick to that routine. So today we're going to talk about something that inevitably comes up every time we make a choice on what we're going to do, right? It just so happens to be Teresa's expertise and area of passion, something she's passionate about.
Yes. Time management. So I will say I'm good at it. It is not my favorite thing. And I have had to work really hard to figure out what works for me. So what we're going to talk about today, hopefully will help you, but just know like everybody has to find their own flavor of time management and what works for them in order to have your life work for you, because no two people's lives are the same. It doesn't matter how similar they could have the same job, the same number of people in their family, the same single, married, whatever status, all those things. And their schedule's still going to look different. It just is. And what works for them is going to work differently. So yeah, time though, it's one of those things we can never get back. Once a minute is passed, it's gone. And it's not a problem. It's like gravity. It's here. It's here to stay. Time moves forward, the end. So we get to choose how we spend our time. And we really want it to be maximized for you so that when you're working on your goals, you're getting it done. So something Tony Robbins says is there is no such thing as work-life balance. And I completely agree. That phrase of work-life balance is BS. It doesn't exist. There is, but what Tony says is there's work-life integration. So it really just means that we need to be thinking ahead. We need to be thinking about what's going to happen. We want to use our goals as guidelines. And then we have to be action takers. And we have to be ready for what's going to happen tomorrow and next week and next month. Even if it's just high level, we get down the gritty details when we get a little bit closer in, right?
Yeah. So what's kind of the difference between balance and integration? So what does that mean exactly?
Well, so balance, if you think about justice, holding balance, right? It's like you've got these, what the heck is it? Scales. You got these scales. Like you're never going to have it be perfectly even. I mean, I feel like sometimes we hit that spot where we're like, everything's really sweet spot. And then life happens. Something unexpected happens and it goes back and forth. Okay. The scales are never going to be even. So you have to learn how to flow with it and integrate those curveballs that come our way. It's okay, what do I do with this? So integrating it into your life and going, and there's going to be periods of time where life is a little more work heavy. There's going to be periods of time where life is a little more play heavy. There's going to be periods of time where life threw you a curveball and you're going to be like, okay, now I'm way off in left field dealing with this situation that I had no idea. And my play and work aren't even like present to me right now because I have to take care of this other stuff.
Mhm.
So it's really integrating then it's like, how do I make everything work?
Okay. Yeah,
So
that makes total sense.
yeah, to me, that's what the difference is between integration versus balance, which to me is a perfectionist thing. As a recovering perfectionist, balance is something that you strive for when life is going to be perfect.
What are some of the best things that we can do instead of just trying to make everything perfectly balanced? So what are some ways that we can start to integrate this?
Yeah, well, so maximizing your time, and we've talked about this in some of our neurodivergence. I think our most recent 2 neurodivergent episodes, we went into detail about maximizing some of these strategies. But one of my favorites, I love visual timers. I mean, I'm using one right now while we're recording the podcast because David and I love to talk. And here, I'll even show for those of you that are watching, this is my visual timer.
Mhm.
Like, it's wonderful. Just, you can set it. I have an hour-long one. So there's ones that are shorter or longer, whatever. But it's one of my favorites. I use it for all sorts of things. Use it for work. David and I both love the Pomodoro technique.
Absolutely.
So I use it for that. David, do you want to explain what the Pomodoro technique is?
Yeah. And so basically the Pomodoro technique, you do work for a certain amount of time and then you force yourself to take a certain amount of time for a break. So it works in 2 ways. So you can either be on for 15 minutes, off for 15 minutes, on for 15 minutes, off for 15 minutes. One thing that's really nice about it is that, especially for those who are neurodivergent, sometimes starting a task feels so overwhelming because it's, okay, if I do this thing, I'm going to have to do all of it. And if I'm going to start the dishes, I'm going to have to watch all of them. And it's going to be like 4 hours of work. So using the Pomodoro technique says, okay, just start for 15 minutes and then take a break. You have to take a break. So it makes it easier to start because it chunks it down in a smaller piece. And the other thing is then it also prevents, while you're working, it stops you from getting burnt out and then getting that creatively blocked because you're just sitting there staring at the computer screen, not getting anything done. So it says, okay, now go take a break for 15 minutes.
Totally. And I think my favorite thing about that technique is it can be any set amount of time. If 15 minutes feels overwhelming, do it for 5. Take 5 off. Or like for me, when I start getting in the flow, I could set a timer for 45 minutes, an hour, but then I make myself take like a 10-minute break.
Exactly.
Because then it's, hey, maybe I need to grab lunch, use the bathroom, refill my water, whatever it is. Because sometimes I'll get in the flow so much that I could sit there for 4 hours and then realize, oh my gosh, like I'm completely parched. I should have eaten lunch hours ago, whatever.
Okay.
It's a great way to balance it out and give your brain a break. So you get to use it however, in whatever time chunks work for you. And maybe if you're doing something that's really rough for you, you work on it for 10 minutes and maybe you take a 20-minute break.
Exactly.
You just have to go with the flow of what it is and roll with adjusting how today is for you.
Exactly. And then another thing that does help with the Pomodoro technique too is having a limit of outside influences. So like a limit of distractions. So I'm a big fan of app blockers on my phone or a website blocker that stops me from going to certain websites at certain times.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like I'll block Facebook. I'll block just other like Quora is another thing I spend a lot of time on. So I block that one. So I'm not accidentally going on Facebook to check something and then I'm there for another half an hour.
Yeah.
So that helps.
That's really smart. And our phones are smart enough to handle all that.
Exactly. So that's kind of like specific task focus, right? So what are some other things that we can do to kind of help manage our schedules a little bit better?
Well, yeah. So actually I have a free evening reflection guide. And we're actually going to go over it in depth here in a minute because it really has, doing these tasks every day has completely altered the way that I go about doing my schedule and the success I have in doing what I need to do every day. On the days that I, for whatever reason, don't do these tasks, that my next day doesn't work as well. I'm not as, it's like it puts me together. It gets me focused. I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know what my plans are. It also is built in for a little bit of reflection. So it's called a reflection guide, but it's reflection, it's scheduling, it's organizing how you want your day to go tomorrow.
And so just like we talked about on our last episode, setting up those routines, right, and kind of habit stacking, it's really easy to do something every night before bed because we go to bed every night. And so that's something both of us, I think, enjoy doing, is like doing this habit in the evening, because it just makes it much easier to actually stick to it and do it every day.
Yeah. And something that scientifically, I think people don't realize is that when you think about something at night before you go to sleep, your brain will work on it all night until the next day. Your subconscious mind will work on it until the next day. So for me, doing this reflection and everything in the evening is what works. Some people, first thing in the morning works for them. So this also is absolutely can be used in the mornings. You guys will see, you can make it work for you. But for me, nighttime's where it's at. Exactly. My morning routine's a little bit crazy for it. So awesome. Well, let's take a really quick break and then we'll come back and we will go over the evening reflection guide and what's in it.
Awesome.
Have you ever started something new that you were really excited about and invested time or money into, but after doing it for a while, you reach a point and you just feel like, I have no idea what the F I'm doing?
There's that bubbling up of frustration because you're not quite as good as you thought you'd be, or it's nowhere near as easy as you expected. Then suddenly, a wave of guilt comes at the same time, and you don't really want to or feel like you can express this to anyone.
Having a dream you want to accomplish can be very sad and isolating. It's lonely because visionaries tend to see the world the way that it could be, instead of settling for the way the world currently is, like most people do.
We believe this so deeply that we wrote a book with the exact 4 steps to help.
This guide is designed to take you out of that feeling of frustration and overwhelm and lead you into the calmness and clarity that you need to reach the life that you know in your heart you're destined to have.
If you've started a project or a goal but have stopped, gotten stuck, or are starting to feel burned out, this is 100% the book for you.
Go to IDKWTFpodcast.com today and download your digital copy with the coupon code ACTION to get it on us, because we want to join you and be your supportive friends and partners throughout your journey.
It's only free for a limited time if you use the code ACTION by going to our website, IDKWTFpodcast.com.
Check it out today and let's get unstuck together.
We are back.
Yes, and I'm excited.
So we are going through your wonderful evening reflection guide. I'm really excited to do this.
Awesome. I'm so glad. Like this, it's just made such a difference for me. And so for those of you that are watching this on our watchable formats, I'm going to share my screen. But for those of you that are listening, I would love for you to go get a copy of my free evening reflection guide. And so you'll want to go to IDKWTFpodcast.com and you will be able to download it for free there. So you can follow along with us. You can print it out. You can write it in your own journal if you just want to look at it from your computer screen and handwrite it, whatever works for you. Make it work for you. So my evening reflection guide, essentially, it didn't start off as like a pretty guide like it is now. This is what I do every day in my life that works for me. And I've found that it makes a huge difference. And it makes a difference for my clients as well. You start off with gratitude. Probably not what you thought I was going to say, but you want to start out, what was the best part of my day today? What was the best part? It could have been getting to take a nap or lunch with a friend or learning something new. It could be anything. It does not matter. Do not qualify it. It's just the best part of your day. I actually go through this. We do this at the dinner table with my kids when we have family dinner, and I love doing it with my kids. And I try and ask them every day, well, what was the best part of your day today? And that way they're thinking about what went well today.
Why is it important to start off with gratitude? Why do you structure it this way?
I structure it this way because some days you're tired. Some days it was not the best day. And if you're trying to prepare for tomorrow, being in the space of like, today was like a big like wah-wah kind of day, or just a really crappy day. Like sometimes you may just have a really bad day. And so it's like, okay, what was the best part? What is one thing, one highlight I can find? And maybe it's that, hey, I'm about to go to bed. The day's over. Maybe it was a bad day. What am I grateful for in my life? Because that is going to shift your energy energetically when we're like, I'm unhappy, I had a bad day. But when you're thinking about, what are the things I'm grateful for? And it might be an amazing partner. It might be that you have money in your bank account. It might be that your kids didn't argue today. Like, I mean, it could be anything. And it could be like, hey, I got a new job and I'm so grateful. It could be I lost 10 pounds and I'm feeling amazing and I'm grateful for my health. It could be anything. You can find anything. It can be, I'm so grateful the sun was shining today and I got to be outside in it. It changes your view though. And then you're ready to actually look at. So you want to reflect a little bit. How did today go? So the next question is, what did I accomplish today? And then what did I struggle with today? So what did I accomplish? Maybe you got that sink full of dishes done and you're like, yeah, and it doesn't matter. It's whatever matters to you. What did I get done today? What did I do? What am I proud of myself for today?
Mm-hmm.
And what did I struggle with today? Because then now that you've looked at what am I grateful for? What did I do right? I'm like, oh, what didn't go so well? Maybe I snapped at my kids today. Maybe I don't know, I forgot to do something important. Like maybe I didn't get all the things done on my to-do list. Maybe I let someone down. I don't know. But it's like, okay, I can acknowledge this didn't go well, but these other things went well, right? Okay,
Right.
How did I physically care for my body today is the last question on the first page. Because we could have a great day, but what did you do to make the home we live in? This is our home. Our body is our home. We take it everywhere. Did I eat nutritiously? Maybe I didn't. Did I take a walk? Did I take a stupid walk for stupid mental health today?
Right.
Did I get a great workout in and I felt great? Did I meditate today?
And yeah, I actually like this, how you phrased this question specifically a lot, because it's not always about going and working out. Sometimes it's about, okay, I actually just finished my water today.
Yeah.
Or I did just get outside and get some sunshine. It's not necessarily, oh, I ran a mile, but it's just that other aspect of something like really internalizing it. Did I do something like to physically care for myself? I think that's something that many of us often forget to do. So I think that's great.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, it could also be something like maybe I took a bubble bath or I took a nice long shower and just enjoyed it and felt good for whatever it is that you did to physically care for yourself. And it's also for your mind, because our brain is part of our body. So if you did a meditation, if you just went and sat out in nature in the sunshine, maybe you went outside and stood in the rain if it was raining. Did you do something that made you feel good physically? So, but yeah, it doesn't need to be like a 2-hour workout to take care of your body. So yeah. Then we get into like what is going to happen tomorrow. So this gets us set up for what's next. Okay. So we reflected on today, we reflected on how we feel. And then it's okay, well, what are my priorities for tomorrow? This piece of this guide has made my scheduling, it's completely changed the way I schedule and how successful I am at my day-to-day life. I have 5 schedules that I am essentially responsible for at any given time. I mean, not my husband so much, but I do need to know, is Dan working? Is he not working? Does he have random meetings even when he's supposed to have a day off? Because his schedule's crazy. So that's on my calendar. Plus then I have my 3 kids. Do they need rides places? Are they staying at school late? Do they have a birthday party they're going to? Do they have a band concert that I need to be at, or a teacher conference, or any of those things? So I have all that. Plus then, my stuff too.
Yeah.
my work, my working out, my social, all the things I need for myself. So I have a lot. There's a lot to manage, but it's cool. What priorities are on my calendar tomorrow? Great. I'm going to pull out my calendar, whether it's my Google Calendar, which is what I happen to use, whatever type of calendar you use to keep track of your scheduled events. I mean, this could be if you work a 9-to-5 job and you're like, no, I need to look at what meetings do I have tomorrow while I'm at work? And then do I have anything going on in the evening after work or before work, depending. Everybody's schedule is different. But, and then it's looking at it. And I have these questions written out because they're not intuitive. It's something I've learned over time, but do I need to change anything? My schedule, since I create my own schedule, sometimes I do need to change things and move things and be more full. And sometimes there's things I can't. So it's, I'm supposed to do, maybe I have something overlapping that I didn't realize was overlapping, or I just need to manage how I'm going to, I have to get all my kids to school And the vet could only get my dog in this specific time, and it's cutting it real close to when I have to drop my kids off, and Dan's at work. So it's all on me. So then I'm able to know, okay, how am I going to manage it? I can let my kids know. Like this scenario, it happened a couple weeks ago, and I had to talk to the kids and say, look, we have to leave a tiny bit early. This is how we're going to do it. I have to bring the dog with. So I need you guys to help me make this work so we can get the dog to the vet. And they were all about it. They're like, all right, Mom, next morning it worked out great. But it's because I was able to set myself and them up because I looked at my schedule. Then it's like, what do I need to do? Well, and maybe your schedule is so busy some days that you're like, I can't add things like my schedule, my events for tomorrow are my to-do list. Some days are like that. But other days for me, it's, oh, no, tomorrow I only have this one thing I'm doing, and we definitely need some things from the grocery store. So I'm going to add that to my schedule. And maybe I'm going to add my little grocery list so that I'm ready to go. And I know that I don't have to go to the grocery store at 11 tomorrow. It's obviously not, that's something super flexible. But then if I go at 10, if I go at noon, I can be flexible with it, but it's on my calendar and I'm prepared that I need to go to the grocery store tomorrow. And do I need to communicate to anyone? I kind of included that with like when I was telling my kids, but it's like thinking about it. Does this affect anyone else? Do I need to say, hey, David, something's going on tomorrow that I didn't realize. We're supposed to start podcast stuff at 10. Can we push it to 10:30? Mm-hmm. It's very simple, gives me a way to communicate. And then right after I gave space in the guide, it says actions needed, because then you can just jot it right there. What do I need to do? So if you're like, oh, I need to communicate to these 2 people, I need to add these couple things, like some of it you can just do, right? But then other things, maybe it's like if I need to communicate with 3 people about something, I'm going to jot down, and then I can just cross it off when I'm done. Check it off. I love check marks too. So I might be like, talk to David, talk to the kid, confirm with the vet, whatever it is, check, check, check as I do it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. And then the very last thing on this guide, because it's quick and easy, is at the end of all that, what is one thing I appreciate about myself? And I didn't say what's one thing I like about myself, because honestly, that like some people really resist that. But it's what's one thing I appreciate? You can look at what did I just fill out? I appreciate that I'm taking action and organizing my day for tomorrow and I'm ready for tomorrow. I appreciate that I moved my body today and I felt really good. I mean, it can be any, I appreciate that I'm taking some time to honor myself and create my days instead of just be at the effect of everything that's happening.
Yeah, I think that's very important. So I think that's a great, wonderful, easy to do exercise that anyone can do at the like kind of right before they go to bed. So after they've gotten it all filled out, kind of then what?
I mean, then it's like you just put it into action. So, and maybe in the morning you glance at it. Maybe you put the actions needed. Maybe the actions needed is like your little note spot and where you added tasks. Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's actions for tomorrow morning, because obviously tomorrow morning comes. And for me, I then in the morning, like I said, your brain works on things overnight. And my brain is happy when I do that, because even, for example, today, David and I are recording this episode. Well, tomorrow we have an appointment with somebody. And I was like, what time is it at? That's 11, right? And I double checked. It's at 11:30. Like subconsciously, I will remember that. I will probably double check it again. Like tonight, I'll look at it again. But then in the morning, I feel a little more centered, because then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I can glance at it, but my brain, oh yeah, you know this, you got this. What are you ready for?
One of my favorite reasons of kind of reflecting at night and kind of putting everything down is that, because again, we're thinking about these things all day long. And so often we're stressing about it. And then there's just stuff that kind of ruminates, especially in my mind overnight while I'm laying in bed. Just, oh, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I can't believe I forgot about this thing. And really just being able to jot it down actually lets me sleep dramatically better, because I know, okay, it's out of my head. I've gotten this written down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's huge. And I definitely like in your guide where you're starting with gratitude first to kind of get out of any kind of negative thought loops that we tend to kind of get in, especially right before bed. Think about the most effective way to create the next day, get it on paper. It's out of my head. I can sleep better. And then, yeah, absolutely. First thing in the morning, I can look at what I already spent all of this time trying to figure out last night. And then it's just like a weight off of my shoulders.
Like a 2-minute review. Then I'm ready for the day. And I know, oh, here's what I'm doing. And that's all I'm focusing on. Because if I'm thinking about the whole week every day, I'm just going to be stressed.
Exactly. And that is completely perfect and exactly what we're trying to help one with, because we want to get people out of that feeling of overwhelm so that they can get back into a place of taking action with those things that they really want to do.
Absolutely. So I really hope you find value in my evening reflection guide. Add things to it. Take things away if they don't feel right. I mean, they're there for a reason, but you're like, no, I just don't want to say this one thing. Then don't fight it. Don't fight it. Utilize it. Make it work for you. Make it yours. Because we really all have to. We all have different lives, and what works for me, hopefully you can just tweak it and it'll work for you too.
And that's the key. Tweak it, make it yours. But again, you can download the exact copy of it, which is nice and fancy and nice and pretty, from IDKWTF.com. And on top of the evening reflection guide that you can get for totally no cost, we also have another action planning guide and our goal setting guide, and along with our book is IDKWTF I'm Doing and It's Okay. So it is the bundle that really does help you get from that feeling of overwhelm and back into action. And I think over our next few episodes, we're going to talk about some of those other pieces of it as well.
Yeah. And I mean, these are free, guys. They're free resources. So please use them, get them. That's what they're there for. We want you to just have access to make your life easier. You don't have to create it. We did it for you.
We're doing the hard work for you. I like that.
We did. We took some actions. So you take some actions and allow it to work for you, because that's why they're free. That's why we made them. We want you to use them.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Thanks everyone again for checking out another one of our episodes of the IDK WTF podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again next week.
As am I. Can't wait to talk to you guys, and have a great day.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Have you ever started something new and didn't finish it?
You were excited. You invested time and money.
You got stuck.
I'm Teresa Merrick.
And I'm David B.
And this is the podcast with two ADHD entrepreneurs, and we've been there.
And worked with hundreds of people in the exact same place.
The IDK WTF I Was Doing podcast will take you away from feelings of frustration and overwhelm.
And lead you to the clarity you need to take action and get shit done.
Listen today, because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing.